Well, welcome to our garden at plot 16. Although we're not at plot 16 right now. So, today, 4th of February. It's been a couple of weeks since my last video. For anybody who is actually following this channel, they'll know that I posted a little short. I had a bit of a bad news. So, the last video I posted, I don't know if you noticed, I was quite pleased with myself. My lovely polytunnel was looking fantastic. I've turned over all the soil inside. I've got cardboard down, ready to get the compost in there. Get it all nice and set. Just thinking about all the joyful things I can grow in there. And then we had a storm. And it didn't survive. Unfortunately, turns out from what I heard from one of my neighbours at the allotments, the wind on the allotment got up to just over 85 miles per hour. So yeah, polytunnel's dead. So I haven't done anything for the last 2 weeks. Done a little bit of pottering, tried to rescue what I can. But for the first week, I was despondent, I think would be the correct term. Having got the allotment at long last, and really excited, finally having my polytunnel, envisaging what I'm actually going to be planting in it, and then just all of a sudden it gets torn away from you. I think in some ways I was quite unlucky. If I put it in the week after, wouldn't have hit the storm, would have been absolutely fine, I think. But on the other hand, that was rather dangerous. One of the pegs that I'd used to peg it down on the outside was stuck about 1.5 inches depth into a big wooden fence post. The wind really took it, dragged the concrete cinder blocks across the ground. Yeah, so I think I got lucky in some ways. But most of the frame is salvageable. So instead, I am going to do either use it as an arch between two beds and have things grow across it, which I think will look gorgeous. Maybe some cucumbers if I can get them growing well enough outside. If not, something like pumpkins. Do a nice little squash frame. We did well with Petit Pan last year, so that could potentially be quite good. Having 4 plants on that should cover it. But the fabric on the outside, yeah, it was a disaster. And then last week, so by trade, I'm a gas and electrical engineer. And I had to resit my CMA 3, which is a joyful gas course that I had to do. So I've been away for the last week. Yesterday was the wife's birthday. Today, I have a bit of time in the greenhouse, which is good because the greenhouse is where it's at this time of year. I do need to get down the allotment to turn over the rest of the soil. I've done about a quarter of it. Still got a lot to do, but I'm not putting anything in the ground yet anyway. So, topic of this. Firstly, what I'll do in just a second is I will take you back to 2 weeks ago. Apologies how sad I sound, if I'm honest. I really was this sad. But I'll take you back to that first. Yeah, take you back to that first and then I'll bring you back to today.
It's January 22nd. I have just come down to check to see how my polytunnel managed last night in the storm. That's where she was. That's where she is. See if I can salvage anything from her. Yeah, it might be salvageable. Absolutely gutted though. Absolutely gutted. So there's a couple of rips in that. There's a cinder block on it now, that should hold it. I've got another one here, I'll chuck on that. It's all slightly bent, now askew, and it's all sorts of bent. And then the run at the front's actually completely snapped off. This one's almost snapped off. Absolutely gutted. Absolutely gutted. Oh well. Right. I suppose I best crack on, get home.
Yeah, it's not nice. Not a nice feeling. I know for me it's been a couple of seconds. For you've watched the footage, but I know later on this evening when I edit all of this together and I put those clips in, I'll have to watch through them and yeah, not nice. But subject for today, as I say, 4th of February, we're in Feb. There's not a lot to do with the ground outside if you've already tilled it and got it all ready, but there's lots to do in the greenhouse. So I have a lot to plant up. So February, time to plant. First things first, you can't see that, can you? Pointless me showing it. Melons. So there's a couple of varieties I'm intending on growing this year. First and foremost, if I can get to it, watermelon mini love. We did this last year and we got one, maybe the size of a tennis ball, cricket ball, baseball, depending where you are in the world. But it was so sweet. So this year, my intention is there's not going to be any tomatoes in here. This is going to be melons and cucumbers. So, gotta get them planted. And then if I've got them, yes, I do indeed have them, is Mulber. Melon Mulber. So where I am, I believe it's classed as zone 3, zone 4. In the greenhouse, these do really, really well. We get good yields off of these. From each plant, you can expect to get somewhere around 4 to 6, roughly. Seems to be the rough idea of what we get. But these need to go in. Now, these need heat, so they won't do very well under 20 degrees centigrade. So these are first going to go into, where are they? There we go. I'll be putting probably 4 in one of these propagator trays. Get them in the propagator for the next 3 weeks roughly, until I've got them about an inch high. Then I'll be doing what's known in the gardening world as pricking. So that's where you take a small implement, you prick the seedlings out before they get too much growth and too much root network, so you don't disturb them. So you take them out when they're really, really young, you put them into their own individual pots, and then you let them grow on. In roughly 4 weeks, we should be past the main parts of the frost, and then this greenhouse stays quite warm. The solar panels, which are just about off shot, they're going to go on my roof of the office very, very soon, so I'll have full sunlight in here again. So yeah, these will be able to come back into the greenhouse at that point. Possibly might put them on the windows, on some of the shelves by the windows in my office, because I keep that at 20 degrees. But we'll see. So yeah, so melons are the first one. Get them back in the envelope because I will forget. Next thing is aubergines. Now I'm desperate to grow aubergines well. Last year I put a couple of plants in, but I also ran along the same side as a little bit of an experiment with Gardener's Delight. I planted 2 plants in one of my raised beds and I did not trim them. Now, if you've watched videos on gardening before, you know that everybody says you've got to trim them. Take off the bottom stems, try and keep them to one individual stem going all the way up, take the leaves off as you go, let aeration, etc, etc, etc. I decided as an experiment, because I had a little bit of spare space in my bed, to not do that. Just let 2 plants grow as they want to. And I ended up with what I can only describe as a shrubbery. Really thick, really sporadic growth, loads and loads of fruit, but a lot of it was spoiled because it was just going everywhere. I couldn't keep it standing up. And where I put my aubergines last year was beside them. So, I'm unsure at this point whether I want to go for the classic Black Beauty, which I know is good, but it doesn't have much flavour. Or alternatively, Pinstripe, which I only got 1 of these off of it last year, and it was so small I actually just ate it raw. And it was a really interesting flavour profile. So I'm kind of swaying towards the Pinstripe is what I'll be planting, but we'll see. Next is Telegraph cucumbers, which I apparently don't have. I only have Tasty King. So I may not be planting these today now. What have I done with them? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Tasty King wasn't bad. It wasn't quite as long. I'll probably put a couple of these in today, and I'll have to get some telegraphing. I like the telegraphing ones, purely because I find that they grow vertically a lot easier. The Tasty King tend to want to split constantly and grow sideways. I grow them in my greenhouse. This is what this netting here is. Grow them upside on a string line. When they get to here, I then let them open up. I end up with this beautiful coverage of foliage on the top. I don't tend to let them do it on this side because that's the south. So the sun's coming over this way and across. So it allows lots of sunlight in. And I get really good yields off of them. So the Telegraph, nice and long. you can quickly catch them when they start to go too fat, where they go a bit bitter. Tasty Kings were nice, but I found them better as a smaller cucumber, and I got lower yields off of them. So I will go and get some more Telegraph. Another thing to plant in February, and again, you need the heat for these. Yeah, for the next few of them you need the heat. I'll say when you don't. So these are all going to be in propagator. So, Gardener's Delight tomatoes. They're a staple. If you ever need a quick win and you're new to gardening, I strongly advise Gardener's Delight. You get very high yields off of them. They don't need too much food. They don't need too much water. They're quite a happy and robust plant to grow. And yeah, the nicest tomato to have in a salad by a long margin, with maybe the next one being the exception for me. I've already lost the envelope for it. So that's going on the compost now. So the next one is the Tigerella. Now Tigerella is not a tiny little tomato, it's quite a substantial size, but it's still good in a salad. I tend to quarter them, put them in, and they're very, very tasty. They're not as sweet as the Gardener's Delight, but I find they've got a much stronger tomato flavour. So we're growing them. Plum tomatoes, we'll be going for Roma, tried and tested again. I always do really, really well with Romas. My wife grew them in her greenhouse for me last year, and yeah, they're prolific. Very, very, very strong plant to grow. And then because I like doing a proper barbecue and a proper burger, I always need the beefsteak tomato. It's so lovely. The fact that you can slice a nice 1/2 inch piece and you can just pop it on a griddle and pop it in with the burger and the bun and the lettuce and the cheese and the onions, and oh, beautiful. I'm getting hungry. I've just had a big Sunday lunch, roast chicken and all the trimmings, and I take this packet out, I'm back to being hungry again. So they're the tomatoes I'll be growing this year. Next is the peppers. Now, we tend to grow a few different varieties of hot ones. Our next door neighbours, bless them, they love their hot chilies, and they gave us Scotch bonnets last year, which have managed to keep alive one of the plants, which it doesn't look alive, I know, but it is. But I've got this Scotch bonnet which they gave me last year as a seedling. I've overwintered it in the greenhouse, so I've got 2 of them, and the other one I'm going to go for is Basket of Fire. Now I'm not going for Basket of Fire because it's my favourite tasting one. I'm not going for Basket of Fire because it gives a particularly good dish or a particularly good yield. It's the prettiest one I've found. You end up with this really, really thick foliage, and when it comes into fruit and the colour from green to red and to yellow start appearing, it looks wonderful. Almost like, if you know of the sweetie, Skittles. Almost looks like a packet of Skittles. They're bloody brilliant. But yeah, so that's the only spicy chilli I'm actually going to be seeding up. Sweet peppers though, we have California and we have Big Ben. California because I'm most successful with it. Big Ben because my son's name's Ben and I'm determined to make these things work. Simple as that. So they're my peppers that I'm going to be growing this year. I'm going to get some salad in. Oh, would you look at that? Middle of winter. You see that? Little bloody slug. Where'd you come from, Macy? Oh, he's in my compost. Well, you can clear off. Anyway, I chuck some Lola Rossa in at this point. With Lola Rossa, it likes spring and autumn most. It doesn't really like the winter. But if I can start it off in here, end of February, early March, I can get it in the ground with a cloche. And by the end of March, I can start harvesting it. It's quite a quick turnaround on this plant. As long as you're picking the outer leaves, this thing just keeps on going. I use the cloche just to keep frost away because there will still be sporadic frosts until usually beginning of April. So yeah, these have got to go in after that. And then flowers. Calendula. I suck with calendula. Every year I try and grow this, I get the seedlings, and then, well, the chap I just evicted comes back and eats the bloody things. So I'm going to have to try and think of something different, but I know I've got at least 2 months to prep for that. Same, well, just chuck the sweet peas on the floor. Same with Robita or Mexican hat. I just think it looks cool. My wife does say it looks a bit phallic. I'll let you be the judge of that. Get some lavender in. My wife has said she's got loads of lavender for me, but I'm going to give it a go just in case she hasn't got enough, because we've got quite a few projects for lavender this year. And then some viola, just because they're just so pretty. And I want to have a good amount of flowers down on the allotment. If I can do enough flowers, then I'm going to have plenty of insects coming in to pollinate everything. And I can start attracting some ladybugs into it as well to get rid of some of the nymphs and things like that. Just gotta go get the sweet peas. I'll be right back. Oh, Gordon Bennett, I'm back. So yeah, and sweet peas. You can leave them for a bit longer. Now I've got plenty in the garden already, but I want some down over at the allotment. I'm going to put some trellising up for them. They're just very pretty and they fill space really nicely. So I could use them to add some partitions, if you will, between the different areas. Now, here's my plan for you guys. So I'm going to plant all this up. I've got a lot to plant up. You're going to be bored if you just watch me plant it all up. Loads of YouTube videos out there if you want to go and watch exactly how you place your seeds and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is set you up for a time lapse so you can watch my hands going and I'll bring you back once it's all done and dusted. See you in a roly-mo. Right, so that's all the bits done for the propagator, but there are other things we can plant now. Now, a couple of the things that I want to plant is I want to do some peas, not because I want them to grow into full-fledged plants and start giving me pods, but actually because I like them as a microgreen. When you have the shoots that have sprouted for maybe a week to 2 weeks, they are rich with flavour, they taste like you're eating peas. So yeah, I'm going to plant some of them. I'm probably going to use one of these trays because doesn't matter if it gets a little bit waterlogged even, because they're only going to be taken as shoots anyway, and I can reuse the soil because I'm just using the nutrients in the pea itself. So yeah, I'll probably set some of them up. I've got to start thinking about getting that garlic in. Actually, I'll talk to you about that. 2 varieties this year, other than the Eden Rose I've already planted. Is it Eden Rose? Yeah, it was Eden Rose. These are all Eden Rose. So I've got some more Eden Rose. Got 4 bulbs of it. Nice big juicy bulbs actually. So they're going to be some spring plantings. But they've also got softneck. I've gone for, what's this one called? Cristo. Another French garlic, but this is a softneck variety. I haven't grown softneck before, so I'm quite curious to see how this turns out. Apparently softneck's the one you can store for longer. Hardneck's the one that you've got to eat quicker. Hardneck's supposed to have a better flavour, you think? I'll check that, and probably somewhere here it'll either say well done James, or it'll say you're a numpty James. I don't know right now. You guys will know because it's there. But yes, I'm going to give that a go, see how that turns out. I need to get them in. I've also got my bargain onions as well, which I was supposed to set in autumn, but you can actually set them now because they are sets. And they seem good, and they were on offer for £1 each. So I've got a bag of brown onions, a bag of red onions for a quick win, and we eat a lot of onions and garlic, so yeah. I think the rest of it for the day I'm just going to be cracking on with. Not that I don't want you guys to come and join me, it's just probably a bit quicker if I can just get it done and have a moment to myself. But thank you ever so much for joining us. Hope that you enjoyed the video. I say, disappointed to say the least about the polytunnel, but it's one of those things really. I've learned, I'll move forward and pick myself back up again. But yeah, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you do enjoy this content. If you've got any suggestions, any tips, or just anything you want to say, please leave it in the comments. There's a few people who are now regularly leaving comments on my videos. To you, thank you very, very much. It makes me feel quite nice to see those comments and have a little chat, whether you're from the UK or from Canada or from anywhere else in the world. It's very, very nice to see the comments, so thank you. And I hope you all have a fantastic day. Bye bye now.